Oral questions. Questions orales. Honorable Leader of the Opposition. Here we go, folks.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister had a revelation. In an interview with the Halifax Chronicle Herald, he said that when people ask him for even more money from the government, he simply answers, and I quote, "The second they do so, inflation goes up by the same amount." Wow. Why had I not thought of that in the past? Spending too much money causes inflation. Incredible. Will he unveil even more revelations and say that budgets do not simply balance themselves? The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Who would have thought?
Mr. Speaker, the problem with the Leader of the Opposition is that he didn't listen to the rest of the sentence in the interview that explains that we decided to invest in services, invest in support for Canadians, service that will help, like dental care. 2 million seniors have signed up to dental care. Over 100,000 have already obtained, since the 1st of May, dental care. Over 10,000 dentists have already registered and signed up, but the Conservative Party continues to be against dental care and to discourage dentists from registering. We are here to help Canadians. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Now I understand the Prime Minister's logic. It causes inflation if the government spends money by directly sending checks to Canadians, but if they send it to fund red tape, it doesn't cause bureaucracy, apparently, Mr. Speaker, unless it comes with shattered promises and unrendered services, Mr. Speaker. It's true what the Prime Minister said. Finally, spending money that we don't have adds to the inflationary fire. Will he finally recognise that it's time for a common-sense plan, dollar-for-dollar approach to repair the budget and reduce inflation? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Conservative Party voted against dental care in the name of inflation. They also voted against dental care for vulnerable people that haven't, for some of them, who haven't gone to the dentist for sometimes decades. Is that inflation? No, it's not. It's help for Canadians that are finding it very hard to pay for groceries, for example, who are concerned with the cost of living. We are sending direct aid, and the Conservatives are blocking it as much as possible. That's what it means to be here for Canadians.
Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, the Prime Minister has had a revelation. In an interview with the Halifax Chronicle Herald, he told how he responded to people asking for him to spend even more government money. And he said, and I quote, "As soon as you do that, inflation goes up by exactly the same amount." Right? Right. I think of that. My goodness. Spending money you don't have actually causes inflation. In the middle of having epiphanies, has he also realized that budgets don't balance themselves?
Drop some dummies in the chat.
Prime Minister.
Speaker,
that's good.
The Conservative Party has been using that approach about concerns on inflation to stand against things like national food programs for kids or dental care for seniors. They have stood and objected against and even campaigned against dental care for seniors over the past many months. But we've delivered to over 100,000 seniors of the 2 million who've already registered for dental care the support that they hadn't gotten in years or even decades. But he stands against it with some made-up excuse around inflation when delivering services delivers for Canadians.
Oh, no. Pierre's coming back.
He calls his own words a made-up excuse, Mr. Speaker. You can't make this stuff up. He said that when people ask him, can you send us more benefits or send us an extra $1,000 a month? Well, he responds, as soon as you do that, inflation goes up by exactly the same amount. Right?
Holy shit.
Speaker, that is exactly why over the past years we've been focused on bringing down inflation by supporting Canadians, and it is working. For the past 4 months, Mr. Speaker, Inflation has been down in the Bank of Canada target range, while we continue to increase supports for Canadians, increase dental care for Canadians with Conservatives that campaigned against, supports for senior supports for young people, increased investments in childcare, bringing childcare fees down to $10 a day. These are the investments we're making that do not add to inflation, but add to Canadians' well-beings as they're making ends meet. That's what we stand for, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, man, this is going to come back really hard on him.
He finally, for once, thought about monetary policy. He said as soon as you spend more, inflation goes up by exactly the same amount. Right. And he is right for once. But repeating the same costly promises that he has already broken does not change that fundamental monetary rule. So will the Prime Minister acknowledge that, yes, the economy is about numbers, that people pay their rent in numbers, their gas in numbers, their groceries in numbers, and that the numbers are too high?
Yeah, well said.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Fundamental difference in perspective between the Conservatives and this Liberal government. The macroeconomic situation of Canada is one of the best in the G7, one of the best in the world. And the independent credit rating agencies continue to give us AAA scores. The federal government is doing well, but Canadians need support. So we are choosing to deliver supports to Canadians with this solid fiscal position. Dental care, a national food policy, national disability benefits, help for housing and investments in the kind of supports for Canadians that he has stood against every step of the way, Mr. Speaker.
Focus on Canada.
Children killed in Rafah cannot be forgotten. We can't look away. And while the leader of the Conservative Party is a cheerleader for the brutal Netanyahu government, this Prime Minister is offering little more than thoughts and prayer. He can take action right now. He could impose a two-way arms embargo. He could sanction Netanyahu's war cabinet. So will the Prime Minister take concrete action today, or will he keep on walking away?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are horrified by the civilian deaths caused by the Israeli strikes in Rafah. We need to see an end to the violence, to the humanitarian tragedy ongoing, which is why we are continuing to put pressure on the Israeli government to cease its military operations in Rafah, why we're calling for more humanitarian aid to get in, why we've been calling for a ceasefire since December, Mr. Speaker, including in votes at the UN, and we will continue to. We need to see more humanitarian aid in. We need to see hostages released. We need to see an end to this violence and a path towards a two-state solution once again.
I would just like to ask all members,
Why aren't the surrounding Muslim countries taking in
recognised by the Speaker,
the Gaza refugees?
South.
Embargo now.
Yes, the Prime Minister said he was horrified by Netanyahu's strike on Rafah. But when asked what he intended to do about it, he ran away. What he could do today is impose an arms embargo and sanction Netanyahu's war cabinet. Will this Prime Minister finally act to save lives, or will he simply continue to save himself? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, from the very beginning, we have worked actively to promote and establish peace and humanitarian aid. We are in amongst the biggest per capita donors to UNRWA, and we will continue to be here to help through humanitarian assistance, through medical help, and through food aid. And we will do the work that is necessary to continue down a path towards a two-state solution, despite the efforts of the Netanyahu government in ruining every prospect of a two-state solution. We will continue to be here. We will continue to find peace.